Looking for a way to get healthy? The Chef You and I program has the answer. Kathryn Raaker and chefs from around the nation will teach even the most inexperienced how to cook. Come into their kitchen and watch them take ordinary foods with loads of calories and fat and turn those foods into healthier dishes. You will be the first to get tips and ideas on foods that are easy to prepare. Now let's join Kathryn and today's chef and learn how to make today's recipes.
Hi, this is Kathryn Raaker of the Chef You and I. Welcome to our show. We are going to make two recipes with pork. The first recipe is Italian Herb Lemon Pork Cutlets. The second is Pork Scaloppini with Mushrooms and Marsala wine. And they are all from the Circle B Ranch pork, and that is Marina's kitchen, and they're her recipes. We want to also thank our other sponsors, that is Cornhuskers, Gourmet duck fat spray, which I use all the time. That's a cooking oil spray that is just wonderful to use on everything. And I can't forget our wonderful pans from 360 Cookware. And we are now going to start our show. And the first recipe, like I said, is the Italian Herb Lemon Pork Cutlets. And what we need to do with that is we need to take our pork. This is pork loin, okay, and we are going to pound these down, and then we're going to dredge them in flour and a few other things. Just a minute. We'll do that, and then here. So we're going to take another piece of parchment, and I'm going to pound them down. So they will, and then they're going to, after we do them, saute them in the on the stove, what we're going to do is actually we're going to put them in the oven to brown and get ready. So you're going to need a baking sheet, and you're going to need one of these. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut these a little bit because they've got a lot of fat on the end. So I'm going to get rid of that. And do this. You don't want much fat on these. So get that off. That's fine. And same thing here. And so these are actual cutlets. We can use the other pork for something else. So, well, then what we're going to do is we're going to dredge it into flour first. And that is actually 1 cup of panko. This is our seasoning for our breadcrumbs, but we're going to do it in our flour first. But we're going to do it in our, actually, we're going to put the 2 eggs that I've already beaten. We're going to dredge the cutlets in flour first, like that. And then what we're doing is we're going to put it into our egg mixture. And then what you want to do is you want to put it in your panko next, which is right here. And I'm going to take this bowl right here. And they want you actually to put all your breadcrumbs. And this is panko, that's Parmesan cheese and onion salt. And you're going to put it in the egg mixture. And then you're going to take it and put it in here like that. And get it all ready to go. So we'll put one here. Then here's the next one. So flour, then egg, and then into your breadcrumb mixture. That's what makes it Italian. So this is pretty simple. It's going to have a nice crust to it. Second. I can smell that Parmesan cheese. Oh, is that good? Okay, that's in there. Okay, and then into your breadcrumb mixture. So now we're going to put 2 tablespoons. We're going to take 2 tablespoons of butter and melt it into our 360 skillet, and then we're going to brown our pork cutlets in there. All right, and I'm going to take all of this over here and take this over here. We don't need this. We're back on the Chef You and I, and now I'm preparing the pan to saute the cutlets. And I'm also putting some of the duck fat spray in there as well because it'll make it taste really, really good. So now what we're doing is we're getting our pepper. And there's salt in here, so there's onion salt in the mixture. So I just want to wait until the butter actually gets really nice like that. And you want to turn it down a little bit. And then I've already preheated the oven actually. And this will take the 4 cutlets. And it looks really good. So there you go. And then you just want to get these brown on both sides. I want to turn that down just a little bit. Get it on both sides. And if you want to add a little bit more salt to it, you can. But you want to get these nice and brown. And then once we do that, I'm gonna come over here just a second and get this because we're gonna put this in the oven. And it has to be on like a tray so they're just gonna sit on top of there so they don't. And I'm gonna spray this, right, so that it doesn't stick. So you can see how easy this is done. And if you want to do more pork cutlets, you put more butter into it and then but you want to keep some of the breadcrumbs are going to get brown, and you want to leave that in there because what you're going to do is you're going to make your sauce that's going to go over the actual herb pork chops, okay? So let's see how they're doing. Not quite. And I'm going to have to use a spatula. So, won't take long. Let's see. There, that looks nice. You don't want to get them too brown because they're going to brown also in the oven. That looks good. Well, let's do this one. You could do 2 at a time if you wanted to, but this nice skillet does at least 4. And if they were smaller, it would do 5. So, and like I said, we prepared the oven at 350 degrees. You're going to keep that in the oven for 20 minutes once you get it in the oven. So that's the reason why your oven has to be really hot. So that's important. And then what we're going to do after we come back from break is I'm going to make the sauce while that is actually cooking. And then you're going to be able to pour it over it. That's good. These look really nice. Great. Let's see. So they're getting there. And as soon as they get a little bit more brown, then we're going to put them on to this sheet. There we go. Okay. So that's 4. Okay, so move them over. All right, now be careful when you're putting this in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and put it like this for a minute, and then I'm going to put the tray in. Okay. And then put this on top of it, there, like that. Now we want to set the timer for 20 minutes. Okay, so that's done. So now what we're doing is we're going to make the actual sauce. Okay, I'm going to melt another 2 tablespoons of butter in my pan. And if you're doing the garlic, that's what you want to saute it in. But since we're not doing the garlic, we are going to then still put the butter in, and then we're going to add all of our other ingredients to it, and we're going to let it simmer until it actually reduces half. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm putting the butter in. And we're coming over here to do that, right? And it's still hot. So, okay, we'll do that. Let that get nice and brown. Okay, and you do want that extra things that you have in there already. Now what we want to do is add our ingredients, right? I'm stirring in the lemon juice, or the stock. That's the stock that we just put in. That's number one. And then what we're going to do is add all of the other ingredients, like the lemon juice, which is right here, which is 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, and our heavy cream right here. That's a cup of heavy cream. All right. Right, that looks really beautiful. That's going to be the gravy that you're going to use on top of the pork cutlets. Okay, and then what you're going to do actually is let it heat and bubble like it's bubbling right now. And then we want to add our cheese and stir in the salt and pepper, the parsley. That'll come later, but we're going to add in the cheese, which is a half a cup of mozzarella cheese and also some Parmesan cheese. Hold on a minute. And you want to stir that and turn it down. Okay, and then here's the Parmesan. And then the last part of it actually will be the parsley, and we're not going to put that in until the end. But you want to let that, you want to get that consistency, and then you want to turn it down, and it looks delicious. Absolutely. I can't wait to taste it. So we'll turn it way down like that and let it cook for a little while. But you don't want it to stick. So anyhow. So then you want to add your, you want to add your parsley right now. And this is 4 tablespoons of fresh parsley chopped. So that's really pretty. This will look like a beautiful dish when it's finished. So anyhow, we'll let that go and we'll take a little short break and we'll be right back on The Chef You and I. We're back on The Chef You and I, and our Herb Lemon cutlets, Italian cutlets, are done, and we're actually going to put them on the plate to serve. So there's 1, 2, right? And right over here, we're going to actually put this one and this right here. All right. So, and I'm going to decorate this a little bit. So I'm going to use some tomato slices, but I'm going to do them like half slices, like that, right? And then just put that right here with a little bit of greenery, some parsley. We're also going to have later on, we're going to be doing some avocado, not avocado, but mozzarella, and that looks really nice. So there, and then we've got these beautiful Italian parsley. So we'll do this. Put this right here, like that. You know, you need to dress your plate when you're doing it for not only a cooking show, but for your guests to make it really attractive, right? And I love this parsley right now because it's just so beautiful. And right there. Right there, and then over here on this side. And I used this lovely parsley for the dishes as well, so let's do that. All right, just doesn't want to stand up for some reason. Oh well. All right, there you go. All right, and I'm not happy with that, so do that. Okay, and then one right here, another one right here. Okay, so now we have the gravy that we made, and it's absolute. Now you can use it as gravy, or you're going to do what I'm doing right now, and then just pour it over your pork. Okay, we'll do it over here, and I'm going to clean up the dish in a minute. Hold on, that looks really good. But we're going to be serving this with mashed potatoes, and just a second. I'm going to clean this up a little bit, that plate a little bit. But that gravy is so delicious, I have to tell you. I tasted it, and it was scrumptious, absolutely scrumptious. And so you can also put a little bit more of your parsley on here, like that. And fresh parsley is really good and good for you. So it's really healthy. So, and this dish shouldn't take us that long. Remember, it was only in the oven for like 20 minutes, right? And got really done. So we pounded the pork chops, if you remember correctly. So I'll do the same thing on this plate as well. I'm going to serve, I'm going to heat these up and they're ready to go, but I'm going to actually serve it with rice, which is really good, or polenta. So I would do that if I were you. And so we'll put that here. And tomatoes right now are in season, and they're just delicious. So right there. Right there. Come on, cooperate. It's not cooperating. So here's a good one. Do this. Right. And then put the greenery on top of it, and you've got a meal. And you could serve this actually with any vegetable, right? And we'll take a nice picture of that in just a second. And then we're going to be back in a minute or two after our break, and we'll be making the Marsala, a scaloppini, okay? Here we go. That just doesn't want to cooperate. Great. So wait a second, and we'll put some on this side. There. And here. So there you go. Really simple, easy to do. It took us around 16 minutes to do it, and it turned out delicious. I mean, the gravy itself is absolutely delicious. And you can serve it. We could have done 6 to 7 pork chops with that. Or not pork chops, but pork cutlets. And we'll be right back after these messages to do our pork scaloppini with mushrooms and Marsala right after these messages. We're back on The Chef, You and I, and now we're making pork scaloppini with mushrooms and Marsala. And I absolutely love this recipe because I love the Marsala and I love mushrooms. So the first thing we're going to do is I need 2 cups of mushrooms. So I'm going to cut up, actually, these mushrooms, and we're going to cut everything up for all of it. And then we're going to do we're going to dredge our pork scaloppini into the flour, and you're just going to do it lightly. Because you don't want a lot of heavy flour and stuff on it. So after I get 2 cups of mushrooms, let's see what we got here first. This will tell us. And I've got a 2-cupper right here. And this recipe is from Marina's Kitchen and Lydia's Italy. I might change it a little bit. Of course, we're not putting garlic or sage into this. I'm not crazy about sage, but this recipe calls for sage. I would say it's optional. So that makes it, so we have these lovely mushrooms. I have not seen mushrooms this big before in a long time. So it was a good year for mushrooms. Because remember, mushrooms are in the fungus area. See that? We didn't really need that many. We don't even need all of these. So, and then you're kind of cut your parsley up into small pieces. And you're also going to be doing your, okay. So here's our chopped mushrooms. So we don't need these mushrooms. We'll save these for another time, right? Because they were really big. And now what we're going to do is we're going to actually cut up the scallions. Everything that needs to be cut up is going to get cut up now before we start cooking. So we want to do this. We want to chop this up. And I think I'll use a different knife. I really like this wonderful knife because it really cuts beautifully. And so, you know, all of these recipes can actually be found on the Chef You and I site. And that's important so that you have the right recipe. And if you've got a recipe that you would like to convert to make it healthier for you, then please send me your recipes. And you can do that to kraaker123 at gmail.com. And actually, we'd love to have you or your recipes featured on our show because it's so fun to use other people's recipes. And if it's a really heavy-duty recipe, you really want to convert it to a healthier recipe, we can do that for you. So please send your recipes. And I know that you'll be really happy. So there's that's good. I think that looks good. And I love shallots. But these are ripe, these shallots. So now we're going to cut up our fresh parsley. And you know, the easiest way to do this is to take a scissors. And with your scissors, cut up the parsley like this. Easy does it. Then you don't want the stems on there. You just want the actual parsley leaves. But I find that this is a lot easier to do. You don't want that. So we're going to get rid of that. And we have our bagwell over here. And we just need, actually, I think we need, I'm looking here, 2 tablespoons, just like the last recipe, 2 tablespoons of parsley. And I really I love parsley. It's so good, especially Italian parsley. So, and there's lots of it out there, and a lot of people are growing it this summer, or you can grow it inside in the wintertime. So, very interesting. So we're almost done with this, and then we're going to heat up our pan. We're going to add 5 teaspoons or tablespoons of olive oil. Our Cornhuskers Gourmet duck fat spray. We're going to do a little spray in the pan, the 360 skillets, right? And we'll do that in just a second. We'll start heating the pan up right now. So, and we're almost done with this. And when we're done with that, then we're going to dredge our wonderful pork into the, that should do it. Here we go. All right, we're done with that. So the next thing we need to do is we need to take our pork that I pounded the pork until it got really thin. So you see it here. So you want to dredge it like that. That's dredging it. That's it. That's what you want to do. So we have quite a few pieces of this, right, to do. And we're going to do like 4 at a time. And then and then you can freeze this after you cook it. You can freeze it, which will be great. So I'm going to take my butter right now, and I'm going to put it in there, and I'm going to put my oil. But first of all, I'm going to spray it with my duck fat spray. And it really helps. It has a lot of flavor this way. For anything that you're cooking, this gourmet duck fat spray is delicious, and that's Cornhuskers, right? So we need 1 more, and just do that. All right. Didn't mean to get that all over. But anyhow, let's add in the oil. And that's 4 tablespoons of oil. You can use actually 5, but we don't need that many. Okay. And we'll heat that up. And then we'll bring our pork over. Just a minute. I've got it right here. I use this little thing for this. All right. And then I'll bring these pork cutlets over. And as soon as it starts getting really bubbly, you're going to put these in. And you're going to cook these actually for a few minutes on either side. And then we'll go from there. Okay, so we've got this. But we have to do two sets of these. So let's get going. We're going to go over to our frying pan. And that's our 360 frying pan. And we'll just get this butter in there. That looks delicious, actually. All right. This is a very kind of rich dish, actually. And you can see that's 5 tablespoons of butter. You could use less, I would think. So we're going to let that bubble a little more, and then we're going to add that in there. I'm going to do that. And so we really pounded them because you want them that thin. Okay. And then we'll put some salt and pepper on them. Hold on. Okay. Okay, that. And then I need some pepper. And then 3 or 4 minutes on either side. And then they'll be done. And then you're going to do the other ones. And then they'll go into the frying pan with all of the other wonderful things that we're making, with all the mushrooms and the scallions and whatever. So now what we're going to do is we're going to let that go for 2 or 3 minutes until it's opaque and tinged with brown, about 3 minutes. So we're going to put our timer on and do 3 minutes. Oh, we need 3. Oh, let's see. It's been in there just about that time. That's good. So we'll let that go. And then we'll put it on a platter. And after we've done with it, and once all the pork is browned, we'll pour off the frying oil, but leave a crusty caramelization in the skillet so that we can add all of our other ingredients. So we'll just take a little break here. We're back on the Chef You and I. I'm actually putting in the chopped shallots, and you only leave them in just for a minute, not even a minute. They're getting ready to, I'm turning the heat down a little bit, and you see that there's a brown from the meat. And now I'm going to add the mushrooms, the chopped mushrooms. That's 2 cups of mushrooms. We're going to let that go on the stove for a little while until they get caramelized. And so that's about 6 minutes. And I'm going to add a little bit more oil to it because, or maybe I'll just use some spray on it, actually, because this is actually less than butter, and this is it's pretty well coated. So you just want to let that go, and it's going to bring in all the meat, from the meat at the bottom. And then once they get caramelized, I'm going to add in the Marsala, and then that stays in for a minute or 2 until it starts bubbling. And then what we're going to do is add our chicken stock. Okay. All right. We just need to leave that for a few seconds. And I'm going to add in, I'm going to turn that up a little until it caramelizes. Okay. Won't take long. They're starting to look really good. So are the onions. And so we'll let that go for a few more minutes. I'll give it about a 3-minute thing since it's been in there for a little while. Let's see, timer. Just do about, wait a minute. Let's see. There. And then they should be done, and then I can add all the other ingredients to it. That looks, look, you know, those are beautiful mushrooms. And mushrooms are really plentiful this year. And this is a really simple dish. You're going to add everything together to this in the end, which is really cool. So you're going to have that wine seeping into the pork, and it's going to be delicious. So I know that's almost done. See how well these pans work? I love working with 360 pans. And they're getting a nice glaze on them. And you can see that. And then with the wonderful shallots. Great meal. And you can freeze this. This is really great to freeze. And if you want our recipes, go on to the Chef You and I. You'll see the actual show and the recipes on there. And in a minute, we're going to add a little bit of salt and kosher salt. And it's right here. I'm not going to use a lot because actually you don't want to have things that salty. So, but you can see that this is easy to do. So they look really good enough for me to do it now. So I'm going to stop the timer down here. And so then I'm going to add my Marsala. Now you want this to bubble. Look at that, isn't that gorgeous? And that looks delicious already. These recipes were so easy to do. Now that's starting to boil. We want it to boil. So you want to turn it up a little bit, right? Then once it starts boiling, then we're going to add in the broth, the chicken broth. You can use turkey, chicken, vegetable, whatever you would like to do. And that looks good. So now we're going to add in the broth. And like that. So let that heat up a little bit. And we're just going to take a little short break and we'll be right back. We're back on the Chef You and I, and now I'm going to take my scaloppini and I'm going to put it into the mushroom, the beautiful sauce, and you want to move it around like this. So you want to get those juices in there, and then we're going to take the juices that are in on the platter and we're going to add those in there too. So this is a beautiful meal, and we're going to serve it with rice. I want to get them all in there. And then I'm going to add this right here to it. Here we go. Okay, and then take that over there. Rinse it off. And then I got to... All right. And then we want to move this around, or you can shake the skillet, which this looks really luscious. And then we're going to take a bed of rice and put it onto the platter, and then we're going to serve this over the bed of rice. But we have 3 or 4 minutes, so we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back. We're back on the Chef You and I, and actually I'm doing mozzarella and tomato for like a wonderful little salad. So you want to cut your slices of tomato, and there's my first mozzarella, right? And then actually we're going to cut the mozzarella. There we go. Right. And then I'm going to put some greenery around it in a minute. These tomatoes are delicious, I gotta tell you. And I think this dish was a little bit too big for this mozzarella, so we're gonna do that. And then this. And in the background, you can hear the wonderful squash being done. Right. These are beautiful tomatoes. And then we're going to use some absolutely great vinaigrette as well, but I'm going to use some of this parsley to fill in the edges here. And then I'm going to use actually this fig, beautiful fig balsamic vinaigrette. And I'll tell you, I love it. It's from Texas, and it tastes so delicious. I'm going to use this other tomato as well. And we went out and got tomatoes today from the farmer's market, and I just love it. In the summertime, it's so wonderful. So add this to it. That's it. And then you add your more parsley here and here and right here. That's the way it is. And then you want to drizzle it with this beautiful vinaigrette. Delicious. We're going to put that aside. That's our salad. Let's put that here. Right here. And let's see. And then we're going to get our vegetables are right here on the stove, and they're almost done. We're going to have some beautiful squash, and I love squash in the summertime. And we've got green and yellow squash. And then we're going to take this we're going to clean up for a second, and we'll be right back on The Chef You and I. We're back on The Chef You and I, and this is the part I love because this is when we get to eat after we do all these wonderful cooking with Marina's beautiful pork from Circle B Ranch and her recipes on Marina's Recipes or Marina's Kitchen. And so what we made today was Italian Herb Lemon Pork Cutlets and Pork Scaloppini with mushrooms and Marsala rind. And I have to tell you, and we also made wonderful tomatoes and mozzarella cheese to have with as a salad. And we want to thank our sponsors, and that's 360 Cookware, wonderful Cornhuskers Gourmet Duck Fat Cooking Spray, and of course, Circle B, and that's Marina's Kitchen with Marina's wonderful recipes. We want to thank them so much. And we want to thank you for joining us on The Chef You and I. Don't forget to go to our website at thechefyouandi.com. I want to thank you for joining us on The Chef You and I. Bon appetit. We'll see you next time on The Chef You and I.
Thanks for joining us on The Chef You and I show today. We'll be back next week with another great and healthy recipe. Don't forget to visit our website, thechefyouandi.com, for all of our featured recipes, cooking tips, and clips of the show.